Hello everyone, this is Sarah Soiled Plant. Welcome back to my channel. It's the end of the year, it's the last day of 2020 when I'm posting this. I thought it would be fun to take some of the crazy things that happened this year and say, what if that event, thing, what have you, what if that was a plant? This whole idea and concept is kind of ridiculous, so I took some creative liberties to kind of make this theme work. So bear with me. Also, when I was getting ready today for this video, I have no idea who I thought I was, but apparently I was watching way too much sci-fi when I put this ensemble together. We all cope with 2020 stress in our own ways, and apparently pretending like I'm somebody else is what worked for me today. But anyway, when I decided to pick out which events I was going to cover in this, I made sure that I was picking sort of lighter topics. You know, this has been a terrible year. It's been a horrible year for pretty much everybody worldwide. We all deserve to have a little bit of fun. We all deserve to have a little bit of joy, even through the sadness and through the horrors that is this year, and who are we kidding, probably next year. So the first event of 2020 I wanted to cover was actually when Harry and Meghan of British royalty decided that they were no longer going to be part of the British Royals and moved to LA. With this one, I feel like if you have an opinion, it's a strong opinion, or you don't have an opinion at all. Holy cow, do I have opinions on all of this. Oh my god. Yeah, I agree. Ash also has several opinions about this. The people that are sort of leading the PR machine around the crown only really care about the people who are in direct lineage to the throne. Everybody else is kind of like superfluous. They matter as far as like sending them to events and all of that and exposure and all of that, but they don't matter as far as whether or not they have a good or bad reputation. So in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of bad press about the British royal family, the crown as it were, Prince Andrew, and all of the Epstein scandals that came out. And then at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, there was a bunch of stuff that came out saying that William was cheating on Kate, which is awful, but probably true. I mean, all of these people cheat on each other. It's ridiculous. They're all just as trashy as the rest of us. Probably more so, honestly. And when things like that happened, there was an uptick in bad reporting on Meghan, especially by the British press, who treated her terribly, and that is not even, that's objective. Like, they treated her like garbage. It was all just terrible, and they were the scapegoat for the entire royal family. Harry could see parallels between what was happening to Meghan and what happened to his mother. Anyway, I could talk about that forever, but what it came down to is half the press was saying that they were doing this for their own good and that the British press is to blame, and the British press is like, no, they're actually terrible money grubbing and jerks and all this stuff. So there's this conflating of opinions of like, one side is amazing and the other side is terrible, and there's no real in between. I picked a plant that a lot of people are arguing about right now, both about like money, whether it's a good plant or not, complaining when it reverts and all this kind of stuff. I went with the philodendron pink princess because A, it has the word princess in it, so that kind of helps with the royal theme, but also you either love this plant and are like fully supportive of it, you back it, you spend all that like insane amount of money to pick one up, and then on the other side you have people who just don't get it, don't understand, absolutely not, no thank you. And I feel like it's one of the few plants where there is like a strong polarizing opinion, whether you like the plant or not. So I went with the philodendron pink princess. The next category I have is Zoom meeting and Zoom calls. Zoom calls, Skype calls, FaceTime were all the rage this year because of all the quarantines and lockdowns that people had, all the social distancing with friends and family. So they were used a lot for, you know, talking with friends, talking with family, for work. Everyone had to have like the best Zoom setup they could so that they could work from home and still present as, you know, a professional or what have you. So I thought, what is the best plant that you want in the background of your Zoom call? The plant I came up with was the fiddle leaf fig. In a few different sort of Zoom interview situations that I've watched on TV, I saw fiddle leaf figs in the background. The two that stuck out to me the most was actually an interview with Harry and Meghan where they had a very lovely fiddly fig in the background. The other interview I saw was with Dan Levy. It was an interview for Hot Ones. If you've ever watched those, you know, they're pretty popular on YouTube. I got distracted the whole interview because I was like, I want to see his fiddly fig, because part of the reason I don't personally have a fiddly fig myself is because I think mine would end up getting all ratchet looking. It would lose leaves all the time and it would grow funny and just not be cute. And I really appreciate the Dan Levy one because it looks like a real fiddly fig. It doesn't look like a fake plant. It doesn't look like something out of an Instagram post. It looks like how fiddly figs look like in real life. So I appreciate that. I really do. I'd probably say any sort of big tree-like plant would be good for that. The fiddly fig came to mind first, but of course, you know, a Monstera deliciosa would look great, or a bird of paradise would also be great. You know, one of these like big bushy like tree-like plants that you can put kind of far away in the background and have it just be like a nice little accent in the background of your video. The next category is the entire quarantine experience is give me all the sun. I'm inside all day long. Give me every ounce of sunlight I can possibly get on myself, but stay away from me. You want to go for a hike. You want to go to a restaurant outside on the patio. You want to go for a bike ride. You're going for walks around the neighborhood. You want to soak in every ounce of sunlight you possibly can while also maintaining social distancing guidelines and making sure people stay as far away from you as you can stand in order to protect yourself. What else could that possibly be other than cactus? Cactus love every ounce of that sunshine. It says gimme, 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 gimme sunshine all day long, but at the same time, don't touch me. The next 2020 event, a lot of people have probably forgotten about, myself included, until I started doing like a little year in review. Tiger King. You remember what a crazy time we were in? It was right at the beginning of quarantine. It was, you know, I think it came out in April, something like that. And everybody was talking about it. Everyone was obsessed with it. Just this flaming dumpster fire of a TV show. And there were so many twists and turns in it, and it was insane the whole way through, with all these people doing crazy things and having like harems and drug addictions, and throughout the whole thing, all I could think of was those poor cats. They don't deserve that, and I hate that zoos like that exist, but that's, I guess, a different story. So for me, when I think of Tiger King, I think of all of the big cats. What plants out there look like a big lion's mane? Maybe this one? Yes, it's going to take up the entire frame. Lovely. That's what it's about. Right there. This big old lion's mane of plant. And honestly, all of Tiger King just kind of reminds me of just like over the top, crazy, in your face, and calatheas in general are very much a Tiger King-esque plant. But this Calathea rufibarbara definitely takes the cake when it comes to looking like a big old lion's mane. Also a bonus because my two tiny tigers, aka my house cats, love chewing on this one. So they also love this plant. So I think it definitely fits the category. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. I got it back. I got it back without dropping it or getting out of my seat. Peak laziness. The next 2020 event, murder hornets. What happened to murder hornets? That was in the news for like a week. Like, murder hornets were everywhere. What happened to them? Are they still a problem? No one's talking about them anymore? That was like a huge flash in the pan story about like these bugs that just freaking annihilate everything. And then it just disappeared as a news story. I'm sure it's still a problem. It just pales in comparison to all the other garbage we've been having to deal with this year. But I was like, okay, murder hornets. What plant reminds me of a murder hornet? Well, I was trying to think of something that was kind of insect-like, alien-esque, but also like, I don't know, could kind of resemble a murder hornet? This is a stretch. This is a total stretch, but I came up with bromeliads, more specifically orange-colored bromeliads. I don't know, all the little spikes, the way it grows, like, it just kind of reminds me of like sort of insects and things like that. I don't know. It's a stretch. But to me, as soon as I thought of murder hornets, my brain immediately went to bromeliads. Another thing that happened in 2020 was all of this artificial scarcity. We've been feeling this with plants, but as a whole market, we were just insane this year. We went through 2 different massive toilet paper shortages. People were hoarding, yeast so they could make bread at home, anything in a can, like all the staples. Everyone bought all the bleach off the shelves and all the disinfectants and antibacterial wipes, rubbing alcohol, hand sanitizer, just all of this stuff was bought in insane quantities by people, making this artificial scarcity. Because I'm sure there was plenty of that for everybody, but as soon as people thought, oh, there's a virus that's killing people, I know, I'll buy 17 packs of toilet paper, I don't know, all the hand sanitizer I could buy. And if there is any plant that has artificial scarcity to the point where it is insane and impossible to get one of these for a reasonable price, even though it's not rare in any way, shape, or form, it is the Monstera albo. Holy cow. People go absolutely nuts for this plant. I want one. Lord knows I want one. But holy cow, people have taken this to an extreme. Just little nodes at this point are going for $100 to $150. A plant, any plant, like a single leaf with roots, goes for over $200. A plant with 2 or 3 leaves with roots, $500 easily. I've seen them in shops locally for $1,000 for like 4 or 5 leaf plants. And they're not even that big. They're not even that cute. They're not even fenestrated yet. And they're selling for $1,000. Just what in the world is going on with the Monstera albo? People are losing their minds. Bananas. Straight up bananas. And it's the same way with like hoarding toilet paper. Like people were spending way more on things like toilet paper and these necessities than they ever would normally, because they're like, well, if I don't have this, I can't survive. I keep telling myself that there's going to be a saturation point where everyone who wants one will have one, and then the price will start to come down. It has not done that yet in at least the 2 years I've been following that plant in particular. It just keeps going up and up and up and up. But if there is any plant out there that just reeks of artificial scarcity, Monstera albo, hands down. In more recent news, the Monolith. What was that about? Are we still talking about the Monolith? If you haven't heard about the Monolith, apparently it was like a big slab that looked like the Monolith out of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And they popped up like all over the world, and then no one knew where they came from. People took a bunch of pictures of them and stuff, and then they disappeared. Everyone was thinking it was some sort of like alien thing. I'm like, this is a publicity stunt for like a steel manufacturer or something. I don't know. Yeah, the Monolith was a thing, but I'm like, okay, what plant looks like a monolith? This was an easy one. The old whalefin sansevieria. It's basically a single columnar structure, very alien-esque, very, how did that get here? How is it made? Why is this in nature? This is crazy looking. And honestly, it's just cool looking. But it does definitely just look kind of like a gigantic pillar in the middle of nowhere, and somehow surviving, somehow got here, somehow is real, but it's here. Monolith, whalefin sansevieria. The last 2020 event, and honestly the one that probably took up, aside from Corona, probably took up the most of my patience and bandwidth as a human being, was the US elections. Now, I'm not going to say anything too political about that. I think we can all agree that there was a lot of drama, there was a lot of misinformation, there was a lot of conflict. And honestly, there still is a lot of conflict about that. There is really only one plant that has this much drama, misinformation, and conflict around it, and that is the philodendron pink Congo. This plant is a sham. It is fake news. It is a facade. It's a facade. They basically take a regular philodendron Congo, dope it with a bunch of chemicals, and force it to turn pink, but as soon as the chemicals wear off, it reverts back to its normal Congo color. There's a lot of drama around that plant. Still is, I guess, a little bit. But I think it's universally accepted at this point. The philodendron pink Congo is basically just a gigantic crock of garbage. And so is the US election. See, I wrapped it up. I brought it back. It all comes back. It all comes back. But hopefully you like this. Hopefully it was entertaining at least. You know, which ones would you pick? What's your Tiger King-esque plant? Do you have any plants that remind you of the monolith? This was all just meant to be some stupid fun, so hopefully you had some stupid fun with me. That is all I have for you today, and I will catch you next time. Bye!